next one is this home right here. Ended up getting picked up for 120,000. They say it's worth 195,000. Look a little more into it. But this is actually one that's worth quite a bit more. This is where research becomes so important. It's the reason we talk about the 3 stages of due diligence. We can see that it's located right here. In fact, this whole area is just going crazy right now. So, you're kind of looking, okay, it looks like an older home. But if we look down here, these are all newer homes. These are all newer homes.
Well, they're brand new constructions. Like basically, what's happening is either they're building on new lots, or they're tearing down old homes and building brand new homes there. Which is something you don't see very often.
Yeah, exactly. And in fact, we talked about this, I think, when we were talking about Florida, this one, but I kind of wanted to break down the numbers and see what they would be, looking a little bit more into it. So, this isn't what this is what it sold for at the auction. We know it sold for 120,000. They're only estimating it at 306,000. But when you really look into the market, that's where you can kind of see where the value. But even at 300,000, that would still be a good deal at 120,000. But here's a home that's just as old, same size, built in the 70s like that one, pretty much the same floor plan. Sold for 520. Here's kind of even an older one. This one was built in 55, and it sold for 450,000. And really it's kind of basic to a degree. I mean, they even have the old tile and stuff still. I
Yeah.
mean,
Well,
the wood
and
looks good, but
what we're probably looking at here too. So this is the Pensacola area, and I think these are properties that are right there close to Pensacola Beach. And so you've got a location thing going on here, where you've got a lot of people, that want to move into this area, and it's driving the value of land up here dramatically. And it's also driving up the value of regular homes. That's part of the reason why Zillow can say, the home looks like it's valued at I don't know what they had listed there, around 300,000, I think you were saying. Uh,
yeah. But look
but
at
then,
the mission.
yeah, but
They're missing information on it.
yeah, they're missing data, and we can see that the properties, the other comps around it, similar comps around it, have sold for prices ranging from 490 to 500 plus thousand. And so there is a lot of potential profit in this property. This could be one that would be one, or maybe you fix up a property like this, somebody sinks some money into it. This is one where you could sink some money into a rehab, be into it 200,000, and have a property that can sell for, for five something.
Well, and if you look at this one sold for 450,000. And you really look into it, I mean, it's a nice job, but they all they really did was paint. This is all the old original tile, blue sink, blue toilet. This is all the old original woodwork. So this is the stuff that they put into it. You look at the kitchen; those are the original cabinets. They just painted them. Those are all the original cabinets. We even look at the windows, and those are all the original windows on it. So yeah, I mean, it looks nice inside, but it really is it's not like they put in a huge amount of cash into even kind of rehabbing it. They updated it, but they kept everything that they could original, and it still sold for 450,000. So, and it's 20 years older. So there's a lot of things that you could do with this home, and bring it up into closer to this type of price range. And then they have all of these new homes that are selling for 600 to 800,000.
Yeah, and by the way, Sam, so what we're doing with this is we're not getting into the weeds here in terms of all the details here, but every little expense that's going to be included on it. What we're mostly trying to point out is the percentages that people are paying versus the income potential that the property has. So really, even if we were to add up things like repairs to this, or other taxes, insurance, things would be added, it would add a little bit of time here to to what it took somebody to pay before it essentially paid itself off, but it wouldn't add that much time. So yeah, more than anything though, it's about what we're kind of focusing on with this, which more than anything is just trying to focus on the potential that these properties have for income, versus how much the people are paying, for the properties here, and just how quickly they could, that income potential, could basically replace what they already have into the property. That's kind of the main thing I think we're trying to cover with it.
Yeah, well, and exactly. I mean, let's say that you're putting in another 50,000 or 100,000. That may take it from, let's say we put 150,000 on a property like this. Well, it's going to take it from maybe, you know, 4 years to 6 years or to 7 years. But still, you're getting into this for as cheap as possible. I mean, even this, we just took the $300,000 price point. So we're kind of leaving out $150,000 in even in this breakdown. So that still leaves them 190,000 and only 300,000, and there's not a home in the entire area that sold for 300,000. This is by far the cheapest. The cheapest properties I found were the two that I just showed you, that I used as examples that sold close to it. So, in this case, this by the time you rehab, it'll probably bring in closer to $3,000 a month. And so even if you're into the equity on it, $130,000, it only 300,000 or any of these different deals, you're still getting it for as cheap as you can, and it's going to pay itself off in a short period of time. I mean, this is a business that you can invest into, and you're going to start getting returns on it immediately, and within a few years, all of these deals under 10 years, the property is going to be completely paid for, using it as a rental.
Yeah, this one is an interesting market here. In fact, I think we saw a piece of land there. In fact, we saw a piece of land there that was selling for a crazy amount, like $300,000 for a building lot in the area. Oh, is that it?
Yeah, yeah, this is just right, it's on the block over. Home's over here. Oh, no, I think it's over on this side. But yeah, this lot is the exact same size that sold for 305,000. And then there was a little lot, tiny little 5,000 square foot lot. I don't even know if it was buildable, that sold for like 160.
Wow.
Yeah, so I mean, this, if we were to kind of zone in with this area, you can see kind of how hot this is, and this is kind of something that we'll do as we're looking into different markets, is get an idea of what's currently on the market, what's sold. And then from here you can go back a year. So just here in this little area, there's been 208 properties, and this is just a less than a square mile. And then we can see how many are for sale. There's currently 60 for sale.
Holy cow. So yeah, I mean, they basically have 3 months worth of inventory, available right now. It means they're turning stuff over really quickly.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. This older home there. There's a newer home. That's an older home as well at 489,000. So this whole area, property values are going up, and so picking it up at 120,000 doesn't matter. You know, I mean, in this case, because the property value is so high, even if we have to go and do the roof, we have to repaint everything. We take this. You could. There's so much money, in the cost in the putting up these new homes, that you could refreshen this home, add anything you add to it smartly, you're going to be making up when you turn around and resell it.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy to think that they're selling the same piece of land for more
Yeah,
money almost. I mean, they're selling it for, I mean, almost the same amount of money for just a vacant piece of land that's right next door. That's pretty nuts.
yeah. Well, and there might have been a old home on here that somebody tore off, and and made it into a lot that they sold for 300,000. So that's where I think that this was actually going to make them a lot more money in the long run, especially how they approach it.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. Also, another Florida deal, and kind of a deal incognito, where you might look at that normally and say, oh, well, maybe they're going to be able to double up their money. But yeah, looking into the market there, that is interesting. There is a lot more potential money in that market.
Next